My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave DeBow. And have you ever wondered how some investors not only survive, but thrive through economic storms? Well, today, my guest, Pat Grace, a seasoned real estate investor from Kansas City, has not only weathered recessions and pandemics, but come out stronger. Pat, welcome to the show. It's fantastic to have you here.
Man, I appreciate you, Bryce. Thank you for getting me on, and I look forward to it.
So 25 years in the Kansas City market. So you must be the guy out there. Have you always worked in Kansas City, or did you start in other markets? Did you try your hand elsewhere? What's the story with how you got started and how 25 years has gone?
Yep. So, I came out here to play some college football. I actually went to Iowa, and my wife's nursing school brought us to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
21, we started the real estate real young, and we just been doing it ever since. I've only been in Kansas City, and so 25 years later, I've got 25 years of network and systems and processes and people, and so it's been awesome to we kind of been through everything. I mean, there's not too many things that can happen right now that I haven't experienced or seen, or have a team that I can create around it. So it's been really good, creating vertical streams of income, multiple companies, and everything has to deal with one basis, which is real estate. So we've learned how to create vertically integrated business models here using real estate, one-stop shop. We provide a bunch of services for investors. And so a lot of people are coming to Kansas City to invest their dollars. And I truly think in the Midwest, this is probably your number one city to be investing in for real estate.
So is it people are looking for cash flow in Kansas City, or are they looking for appreciation, or is it like a mix?
Yeah, I think it's more of so in the beginning, when I first started, we was like 3 to 5% appreciation type market. Everybody was cash flow, was the low entry, high cash flow.
Yeah.
And now, you still got the low entry, you still got cash flow, but we've been getting 10 to 15% equity bumps over the last 4 to 5 years. And so people are starting to find out about this little golden nugget called Kansas City over here. And even on the big national stage, and I think really like Super Bowls and, a lot of stuff going on here with the World Cup and the draft, and like just, this place is coming alive, and a lot of big employers are coming here now. And so it's becoming a big tech place as well, and it's centrally located in the United States. It's got railroads. I mean, you've got great distribution, warehousing, you've got space, you've got land. Everything's cheap. Your cost of living is cheap. Employment is cheap. And so people are leaving Seattle, they're leaving San Francisco, and they're coming to places like Kansas City and setting up shop here. And, they're distributing products and warehousing products. And you've got almost every big tech player has some sort of storage facility, data facility here. So there's a lot of things moving. Jobs are good. Values are still high. We're still selling property for more than we were this month last year. So we're not seeing a decrease in property values. So the market's good out here.
Sounds like next step is to run for mayor.
I would like
Everything's good out here. You should come to Kansas City, get into one of my rentals.
The only thing
buy one
not
of
good
my
is
houses.
the only thing not good is our mayor.
There you go. Well, you're next up, right? So what got you into developing the whole one-stop shop approach for your real estate investing, and what exactly does that entail?
So for me, like I figured out real quick that I always had the real estate brokerage, And, you know, we started with Grace Real Estate Company. We had 5 agents. And I bought the United Real Estate franchises for Kansas and Missouri. And we've got like 350 agents now. My wife's the broker of that company. So that company kind of handles all our buy and sell transactions. And when we were young, me and my wife, we were just kind of buying our houses, remodeling them. She's from El Salvador. She spoke fluent Spanish, so she was sticking all the families in them. We were doing a lot of rent and rent to own. And I was finding them, remodeling them. We got up to about 100 houses, and we sold them to a hedge fund. And the hedge fund couldn't find Spanish speaking property managers. So they bought 30 houses. They bought the second 30, and the last 30, they wouldn't close on the deal unless we provided the property management. So our property management company was born at that time to manage for, you know, it was the first time we actually managed for a third party or for somebody else. So I've always had the real estate side of it. I've always had the construction contracting side of it. And then we added the property management in like 2007. I sold the last 30 homes to them in January, February of 2007. I think Lehman Brothers goes out of business in August. And so you want to talk about liquidating a portfolio on the bubble. And that just provided me a ton of liquidity and a ton of cash. And I took all that money and I got out of the inner city of Kansas City and I came up north of the river, and I started buying all kind of assets up there. And it was just like a game changer because back in the day in 2008, 9 and 10, I was buying these homes for 70 grand, 80 grand. Now I'm selling them for 300. And so just huge increases. The area is great. The schools are awesome. Everybody goes to public school here in Kansas City. So you've got great schools up north. You've got a lot of good sports teams. People are moving there because they want to wrestle. They want to play football. They want to be in the band. And you've just got elite schools. And so there's a lot of stuff that, you know, kind of happened. But we chose certain areas, and we just slowly but surely, we just developed companies that all have to do with real estate and just creating this vertical system where one house can feed my real estate company. I got my hands in mortgage. I got my hands in title. I got my hands in insurance. I've got construction. I've got property management. And so one house can feed all these different companies, and the power of the vertical stream and creating income off of one property has just been awesome for us. So we ran with that model, and all through the recession, not COVID, but the recession, I figured out these hedge funds had all the money and they were buying. And they just wanted one-stop shop, full service type systems. So they would use us to buy the homes, write their contracts, buy the homes. They would use my construction company to rehab the homes. And then they would use my property management company to manage the homes. And then I worked with one hedge fund. We did about 400 houses all through the recession. And then, you know, in 2011, 2012, I ended up selling all 400 houses for them. So it was another commission that I could make on the exit strategy. And so I just figured out it's kind of like a car lot, you know, they don't make money selling the cars, they make money in the service. And so creating the services around the the big ticket item, which is the house, has done well for us. And it was just a great and that's probably the biggest thing that I teach new investors is, you know, not only how to buy and flip and buy and hold and wholesale, whatever, but creating vertical systems where you can capitalize on income and commissions and start servicing other people. Because once you get good at this, everybody wants in the game of real estate and investing. They just don't know who, what, when, where, why, or how. And if you can answer those questions, there's a ton of capital out there waiting for you.
Yeah, the one-stop shop thing keeps emerging more and more as a trend, because it seems that either people are doing it for themselves or they're creating product. You know, they're creating like it, because especially with the press, the push from the hedge fund buyers, they would just like to buy product. You have to be able to create that product, that service, and they don't want to like do it. Yeah, they don't want to do it. They want to own it.
Right.
So when you look at, over the years, what's some things or some insights that you could share as to first navigating the recession, probably the '08 recession, and then kind of navigating being a property owner and keeping real estate going after, during and through the pandemic there?
Yeah, so like, I've always been a big buyer and a big investor myself. So like, I don't ever part capital for any of my investors in areas that I wouldn't necessarily own. And in fact, my business model's always been to like, I buy the houses for myself. And if my investors buy them, they buy them. If they don't, in 90 days to 120 days, I portfolio them and keep them, and
Hmm.
I refinance them. And so I buy everything cash. I remodel everything with cash and lines of credit on just assets that I've accumulated over the years. And and then I put them out there, and like, you know, I can see a shift right now. Like back in the day, I was doing a lot of buy and rehab. I was buying the properties, distressed and foreclosed and stuff for the hedge funds. And then I was providing the rehab for them. And then, they had instant equity and they had cash flow. And then when the hedge funds buyers went away, um, for a little bit there, I started servicing the big education companies. So like your Rich Dad, Poor Dad, your Fortune Builders, Norada, Jason Hartman, all these big guru type education type companies. And once I got vetted through Fortune Builders and Rich Dad, I just became the Kansas City guy. So at that point, I was providing a lot of turnkey property. So like properties are done, finished, rented, cash
The
flowing.
product.
Yeah, you're getting that's what you were talking about, is the product. And so I was providing a lot of that. And now I can see a shift going back to the rehab, simply because of interest rates and what's going on with that. Bigger pockets, they have a pretty big following. They got the Burr and the, I mean, that, everybody's doing that buy, rehab, refinance, remodel, repeat, whatever, that whole Burr
Hmm.
model. So
Hmm.
I see a lot of people looking for that right now. They're not really looking for the turnkey product at 8.5, 9% interest on an
Hmm.
investor loan right now. And so, and the biggest difference now is back in the day in 2008, there was so many properties, I couldn't buy them all. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like, and I only wanted certain areas, and the hedge fund didn't like the areas that I was buying for myself. I was buying up north where they were more expensive. The hedge fund kind of liked the inner city and the cheaper stuff. So I would serve them with that. And in the good cherries, I was keeping them for myself up north and in better areas. And so that worked out perfect um, for us, where now with rates so high, there's really no cash flow on the turnkey stuff. The
Hmm.
rates are kind of eating up the cash flow. So if you're cash flow neutral right now, a lot of my guys are still buying properties. They're cash flow neutral right now, but they're just waiting for the refinance. Because when rates drop, everybody, the market's going to get flooded, and you're going to be back to multiple offers, highest and best, 20 grand, 30 grand over ask. And and so the smart money, I think, is just taking positions in the properties right now, already owning them. And then it's just a simple refi later when rates drop. But I
Hmm.
don't think rates are going to drop to, an investor type loan. I don't think rates are going to drop to in the fives or the sixes. I don't think that's gonna happen, but definitely not in the 8.5s, nines either. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, talking about interest rates and inventory, in Canada, we can only get like a 5 or 7 year mortgage. We can get a 30-year term, but we have to renew our interest rate every 5 to 7 years. So right now we're actually seeing all of the 2020 rates. It's 2024, 4 years, 5 years. Um, we're seeing that because in Canada, people can't wait. They're just like, okay, well, if I'm gonna have to renew anyways, I'm moving. And so we're actually seeing multiple offer dates. We're seeing that like I wouldn't even say it's like real. It's not like maybe real interest, but it's forcing people because in the States you could just say, well, I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll stay in my house. My interest rate is, relatively fixed. But in Canada, it kind of pushes the
Uh,
ball along, right? And so we're already seeing multiple offer dates, things going over price, and those positions, like you're saying, holding positions. Now those people are going to be like I remember in 2021, I said to my investor friends, I said, look where all the prices are right now. Buy every rental in town. And if they and when the interest rate shifts a little like this, it'll be game over because all of those properties you bought will have all gone up, 20 or 50K, and you have 100 or you have 200 of them. You don't have to be a genius to do the math on that. And suddenly you look like a genius. Now, when you look at the Kansas City market and what you've done over time, that does play out when you hold and you stay and people come in every, 10 years or something and buy you out. What's interesting about your story though is you've stuck it, you've worked it. It almost seems like what's that movie? It's like a mafia movie. The way you have all the stuff cornered.
oh,
It's like good
Goodfellas.
Yeah, something like that. Like it seems like you got your hands in everything, and that's kind of how these bosses operate. They're like, well, I own the piece of this business and this business and all the businesses in a line and everything kind of doubles out because a lot of people get really niched in. They're like, I just flip houses. It's like,
Yeah.
cool. Do you own the construction company? No, I hire that out. Okay, well, do you go as far, Pat, to buy and build out your own construction company? Are you still hiring? Do you hire GCs and stuff like that?
No, I've got like two inspectors on staff that kind of manage all the jobs for me. They inspect all the jobs, they buy all the material, and then like really I've got 2 to 3 maintenance guys who kind of handle the maintenance for us. And then I've got like, oh man, I don't know, we kicked out over 500 1099s last year just in contracting subs. So like for me, I'm always looking like for the father and son or the husband and wife or the two brothers, like 2 to 3 man type crews that can do like 80% of the scope. So
Hmm.
they can install my kitchen cabinets, they can install my flooring. What they might not do is maybe HVAC, and they can do the minor plumbing, they can put in the water heaters, they can do, and they might not do electricity. And so I call those secondary subs where I have to like bring in, maybe an electrician, maybe a flooring guy, maybe a plumber or an HVAC guy, depending on the crew. Some of my crews will do roofs, some of them won't. And so just
Hmm.
figuring out really when I'm getting bids from them, I'm like, here's the scope. What don't you do? Circle what
Yeah.
you're not doing. And then I can kind of come up with a price and figure things out. And that's kind of, and on the construction side, I've done all labor only bids. My first house I ever did, I did labor and material. I gave the guy 15 grand down. I never seen him again. And so
Hmm.
I never did that again. And another thing, what it's done for me is really when you control the cost of your material, you control, so like now I can go to Lennox and I can go to Train and I can go to Goodman and they argue over my account and I can play them out because I just bought $350,000 worth of machines last year for me and my entire portfolio that I manage. Same thing with paint. I can have Sherwin-Williams and Bayer arguing things out, and roofing shingles, Lowe's versus Home Depot. I do that all the time. And so who's going to give me the highest volume pricing percentage off of my material? So I've never done the labor and material bid. I always kind of control my material, and then I like to negotiate that based off of, so now we're up to, I don't know, maybe like 700 800 homes that we manage. And so we've got 30 40 people moving out every month. I've got to get those homes ready. I'm buying
Yeah,
new
the
property.
turnover.
I got to
Yeah.
get those homes ready. I got 150 service calls, 200 service calls coming in every month. I got to get that done. I mean, so there's just, the pipeline is always full with jobs and work. And so, um, And, you know, after doing this for 25 years, everybody in Kansas City knows who we're all, you know, we're small, we're family owned. It's just me and my wife. I got no partners. I mean, I got bankers, you know, that are, you know, that, but I've got no debt on my companies except my real estate holding company. You know, where I might have refinanced some houses, but we've done pretty well. We've got no partners in our game and what we do. And you know, it's just been uh kind of like on easy street now. Like everybody knows we're big buyers. There's not a package or a property that'll come through Kansas City and it won't hit my desk. I know every wholesaler. I know every big wholesaler. I know like the real players, you know, they're sending me stuff. And one thing about wholesalers, you know, I don't care what they make. You can make 30 grand off of me as long as my numbers work.
Yeah,
I
as
don't,
long as that last number on the paper makes sense. I don't care
yeah,
what, if you got the house for $1 and you're making 50K, you're making 75K, let me shake your hand.
yeah.
75K works for me. I'll take it from here, you know?
So I don't, you know, but once wholesalers figure out, you know what, this guy's got a ton of cash, he'll close the deal, and I don't care what they're making on their assignment fee, on their wholesale fee, you know, and you usually see that at title. And
Hmm.
when I write my contracts, I counter offer everybody to use my title company, you know, and so now what's awesome in Kansas City is some of these homes I've been owning for 15, 20 years now. I bought these homes for 65 grand, 70 grand. Most of them I don't even have a payoff on. The ones I do, my payoff's 30,000, 35,000, and I'm pulling contract. There's no inventory. Like nobody's moving. Nobody's gonna sell 3.5% rate for six and a half
Hmm.
percent rate on an owner occupied buy right now. And so these
Yeah.
guys are all staying in their homes. They're not moving. They got 30-year paper at 3.5%. These guys ain't moving. So inventory is so low in Kansas City. As my tenants move out, I'll go throw 30 grand into a house and sell it for 275, 300,000. I mean, and I'm just really focused on the homeowner market right now. So I kind of stopped selling to investors. I mean, before I would sell 5 properties a week to investors. Now
Hmm.
I'm selling 1 property a month to an investor and 5 to 7 properties a month to homeowners. And so really I'm just getting them ready. I'm throwing them on MLS and I'm, you know, dealing with a lot of homeowner type buyers right now. Where that's kind of what we're, you know, how we're doing things and what we're doing.
Yeah, the inventory problem with the interest rate. Unlike, like you're saying, why would you get out of a 3%? Well, in the States, you can hang out. In Canada, they force you out every 5 years. They're like, sorry, the good times are over.
That
Time to
sounds
get a
like
new rate.
that sounds like commercial paper over here. Like in the States, you know, like my commercial loans, well, for one, they only amortize over 15 to 20 years. And they
Hmm.
usually put them on 3 to 5 year type notes where you gotta kind of ante up, you gotta get re-underwritten, you gotta reappraise. You
Every
gotta, yeah,
time. Yeah.
every 3 to 5 years. And so that's another just negotiation, I guess, that comes with experience. You know, I'm always looking for 5 years. I've got one bank that fixed me, or you know, for 10 with a 20-year AM. And so, you know, that's and just what I love about real estate, man, is everything's negotiable. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
there's not one thing that is set in stone. You can negotiate what lender you want the person to use. You can negotiate what
You
title
can strike
company
out everything on the
you
offer to purchase and write a whole new thing. And
can,
because it's just a deal between two people, we can make whatever deal we want.
right.
If you want, I can't remember what was one. Someone wrote in that they wanted a puppy or something. Like, as part of the deal, you have to get me a puppy and you can have the house for this price, but you got to buy me a dog. So
Yeah.
it's like it's completely subjective and you could have whatever you want. So um yeah, I mean, I think that my biggest question, we've talked about all this stuff, very interesting. I love to talk to guys who've been in the business a long time. What's your exit plan? Do you ever care to leave?
So, yeah. So like, I'm kind of in that stage of life, right now. I mean, I'm 47 years old, brother. I've got a couple hundred houses. I don't really need to work right now. I've got, I don't know, 250 grand a month coming in rent. I can sell, or I used to sell 150 homes a year, easy. Now I can sell 7, 8 homes a month, make 30 grand a piece, sit on my rentals. My oldest kid is 22. He's in Miami. My middle daughter's 20. She's in Hawaii. My youngest daughter's 19. She's in New York. Everybody's out the house. It's just me and my wife sitting in our mansion. We don't, shoot, this thing's 15,000 square foot. I got to text her, where you at? And, and we just, we're building beach houses in Florida right now. We'll be done with that in 2 months. And so I've already got the property management business under contract. I've got another 8 months where I have to kind of stay on and help them manage and switch over systems and stuff like that. And that I sold pretty much all the investors and all the property management contracts that weren't mine. And all I'm gonna do is go back to just managing for me and my family and just our own stuff. And then the other big sellable company I think I have would be the real estate brokerage. We'd close a lot of transactions with that. And I just don't think right now is the time to sell that company. So maybe in a year or two, when transactions pick back up and things
As
start
soon as the interest
happening,
rates go down 1%
yeah,
and everyone's doing bidding wars, sell the brokerage.
yeah,
I'm in.
that's kind of what we're so we've got the brokerage side of the business we can still sell. And then like, I got into my investment company and my investment portfolio, all my commercial buildings, my apartments, my single family, everything happened one at a time. And that's how I'm liquidating.
One
I'm
at a
not,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you get most, I'm like, I want to maximize value on the exit. And you're not going to maximize value by selling 25 homes to one hedge fund. I've done that
Yeah.
before, and you have to sell them at a discount. And
Yeah.
so, right now, like I said, as my tenants move out, maybe 3 tenants a month might move out. I get those homes ready and I sell them. And so we're doing the exit stuff right now. We're definitely not doing as much volume as we did before. And it's kind of by choice and by just economic design right now. I mean, there's not a lot of homes out there for sale. There's not a lot of people getting foreclosed on. A lot of the banks there's so much equity in Kansas City. If you owe 30, 40 grand to a bank, they'll just put it on the back end of your loan right now and not foreclose on you. And so there's a lot of
Home
that going on.
modification,
Yeah, a
stuff
lot
like
of
that.
mods, yeah, going on. So, um, there's just not a lot of inventory out there when it comes to distress, foreclose, probate type stuff. And really, for me, uh, I started in the inner city when I was 20, and I got out of the inner city when I was 25, and I just never went back. So like
Mhm.
I don't like that cheap, inner city type property,
Yeah,
and
that's for beginners, they can go and cut
I
their
mean,
teeth in the
it's
war
low
zone.
entry, real low entry, but nobody talks about, and I call them paper returns. They look real good on paper, but 5 years, year over year, you're not going to hit that return as a newly remodeled house when you bought it. And then you've got some Section 8 tenant in there, or you've got some shitty tenant who doesn't pay rent. And then you got a victim, and then nobody talks about the thievery and the burglary and the stealing your copper and your AC,
Yeah,
before you know
the
it,
furnace, yeah,
yeah,
everything.
you're just like throwing money into this dead area. And so I just kind of always stayed out of that inner city. And like I said, with my motto and my strategy, if I don't sell the homes, I keep them. And so I just don't want to own stuff over there. So I kind of stay out of those areas in Kansas City, and I'm staying more in that, I'd say 200 to $300 price point, or 200 grand to 300 grand, on the property. You get over 300,000 in Kansas City, it's no cash flow. The numbers don't look good. If you're under 200,000, 150 grand, you're probably in a trash area. And so,
Yeah, where it needs a rehab.
yeah, oh yeah, or big rehab. You know,
Hmm.
I try to stay away from those two. You know, I like turning my crews every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I hate having my crews tied up for 3 months on
Three
one job.
months.
Yeah,
That's one thing that I realized when I was down in Cleveland is like from Canada to Cleveland, like from the Canada to the States, we have limited opportunity and limited number of houses. So we go after these big fish, we'll spend 6, 8 months putting 150 grand, more than we paid for the house, we'll put into the thing. And then when I went out to Cleveland, I was like, man, you can find something for a little bit more and do way, way less and get it renting like right away. Or you can go and blow your brains out on this thing that needs like 4 times what it's worth in purchase price to fix it up. And who knows how many times you get robbed, how many times they take the
yeah,
furnace. We would wait until like the last day before the tenants moved in so that they could secure the furnace. Because if we moved it in, the block saw that we moved it in, it's
yeah,
moving out. It's
yeah.
moving out. Just like that, it's
So was the
moving out.
neighbor. So was the neighbor.
Yeah, yeah, they're hanging out on the front porch and you're like, yeah, just doing the furnace. They're like, cool, man. Cool. Can't wait to see it all finished up.
Yeah.
Gone. But it's part of the game. That's the war zone is a battle. If you don't want to play in the war zone, go play, outside of that sandbox.
I will say though, the inner city of Kansas City, the market value has went up tremendously. I mean, I was selling homes over there for 15, 20 grand, 25 grand, all distressed and foreclosed. And those homes now are selling for 150,
Yeah.
160,000. And that actually, that might be one of the only places where you can still cash flow a little bit. Um,
At
you
120, 150. That's like
know,
Winnipeg here, back in the day, you could buy 2005 or so, you could buy a house in this war zone here just in Winnipeg for maybe like 5 grand. And then that same house, like my dad bought one in like the late 90s for like 14 grand. That same house is like 140 now.
yeah,
So it's just like
yeah.
you never know when that bubble's gonna go like that, or you might end up still having a $5,000 house 20 years later, still didn't appreciate,
I
still
think
just 5 grand, you never know.
I really think that the Kansas City market is just going to continue to thrive. There's a lot of things that people don't think about, like if you just look at me and my wife's story, she's from El Salvador, moved to LA, went to college in Kansas City. I was born and raised in Hawaii, came to college out here. There's like 150 4 year, 2 to 4 year colleges within 100 miles of Kansas City. People are coming here from the coast, New York, LA,
To go
uh,
to school.
Seattle to go to school. And then they figure out, holy shit, it's so cheap out here.
I'll just stay.
Well, stay here. Like you can actually have, like in Hawaii, you make 80,000 a year and your wife makes 80,000 a year and you have a degree, you're a renter and you can't own anything. You don't have a 401k, you don't have life insurance, you don't have shit. You're keeping up with the Joneses, trying to, I mean, it's just tough. And so hard to get started. And so people are moving from those areas. I think I heard a stat the other day, like 5,000 people a month are getting out of California, getting out of
Yeah.
Chicago, they're getting out of New York, and they're coming to places like the South, like Texas, or the Midwest. And this is where they're coming. They're coming to, and when,
Economic prosperity.
yep, and they're coming to places like Kansas City. And when you have these big companies coming here, Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're setting up huge, huge, like million-square-foot facilities for distribution, warehousing, transportation, data storage.
Hmm.
Facebook's got a 11-year project for data storage on some acreage out here that's right by my church. You can just Google all this stuff. I mean, it's all online, and you can just see how Hunt Midwest, who owns the Chiefs, they're big developers here, and they're doing a development up north. And if you don't have $250 million, they won't even talk to you. And so they're looking for these A players coming in and creating. These guys are going to create jobs. They're going to create housing, and all this stuff's just going to make the market go up, you know. And so people always ask me, "What's your strategy? How do you know when to buy? How do you know when to sell?" And it's like I never stop buying and selling. Like I'm
I
always
just
buying
keep trading.
and I'm
It's like,
always selling. Like I've
yeah, I
never
just keep
stopped.
trading and I
Yeah.
just keep trading up.
Yeah, I never stop. And I even this whole last year with 9% money, I've still been buying all these. I got probably $7 million worth of real estate at 8.5 to 9.5% right now that I'm sitting
Yeah.
on.
If it's
So
neutral, it's only going to get
yeah,
better.
so yeah, I might not be making too much on the cash flow, but I own the assets. And I've honestly feel in 5 to 10 years, all these homes are gonna be worth 10 times what I'm paying for them. And within the next 2 to 3 years, I'll probably be in a cash flow positive situation. And
Hmm.
rent's gonna continue going up, property
Yep.
values are gonna continue going up, and all I need is rates for drop, and all that money in the middle is Pat Grace money. And
That's
so,
coming back. Yeah.
yeah, so I just never really stopped buying. I'm always a buyer. I have tightened up before 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would buy anything because I could sell anything. And now, a big part of my business was investors and selling to investors. And just with the rate so high, the investor buyer has stepped out and they're not buying as much. And so, that kind of hurt a little bit, hurt the volume and hurt, the sales. And they want, a lot of them want me to go back into the inner city and start buying properties there. And I'm like, man, I just don't want to do that strategy. I'm not interested in that. And so I
Yeah.
just kind
Why
of
would you
stayed.
want to go back to war? You've already been.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well,
that's kind of like Kansas City, in a nutshell. Um, Really good opportunity out there. Just kind of take a look at it. And, if you need somebody with 25 years of experience and network and
yeah,
system.
what should they do? What should they do to connect with you? How do they find you? What should they do?
Okay, so like Facebook is a big one. You can just, at Pat Grace on Facebook, Pat Grace 25 on Instagram, and then patgrace.com. And then I've got a YouTube channel. You can just YouTube Pat Grace. I mean, everything's pretty much, if you just Google Pat Grace, Kansas City, I'm
You'll
all
find
over the
it.
place. You'll be able to find me real easy. I've got Kansas City Real Estate Investment Group is my Facebook group. It's the largest Facebook group in Kansas City. I think we've got like 48,000 followers on that group. And there's a lot of buying and trading going on there. I mean, every wholesaler's in that group. Everybody's marketing property in that group. And there's just a group that I created to help, like if you need a mud jacker, you just put
Hmm.
it out there, you'll get 30 responses. You need a plumber, you need a specialized plumber who can do an intricate dig because there's cables and gas lines and water lines and just throw it out there, put the pictures. I just did this the other day. I had one that was so tough. It was under a city sidewalk. There was gas lines. I threw the pictures out there and man, I had like over 25 responses and most people wouldn't do it because the dig was so hard. And so it worked out. I got it done. And so it's a good resource for investors to have, and you can just kind of join that group. Yeah, and if you're interested, just give me a shout and I can help you, with you need
With
title.
Kansas City stuff.
Yeah, anything you need in KC.
There you go. Well, the future mayor of Kansas City, Pat Grace, is great to have you on the show. I am look forward to your campaign. And yeah, I really appreciate you spending time on the show and letting people know what 25 years in the business looks like.
All right, brother. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Until
All right.
next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.